Right, in this video, I will tell you how you can quit your job to travel in 2023 and onwards. Bit of a different setup, I know, but I want to show you a few things and just kind of literally show you exactly what I mean. In many ways, and I'll get onto the screen stuff in a minute, but in many ways, traveling abroad is cheaper than your home country. You may already know this, but if you live in the kind of the Western world, if you live in places in America, UK, Canada, Australia, the kind of the big English-speaking country, which most of my audience here does, traveling abroad is actually significantly cheaper than living in your home country. So it's not really a question of how can I afford it, it's really how can you afford not to, because you're likely paying a huge amount to live in your home country, whereas you could go to Southeast Asia, you can live in Thailand, Philippines, you can live for $100 or $200 a month. In some cases for everything, like for bills, rent, food, for having fun, $400, $500 a month, and you're living luxury. Like you're getting a villa, you're getting a pool, Uber's, not Uber, but it's like their version of Uber, taxis around, cinemas, nice meals. You're living like a king or a queen. So it's really just a question of making the decision to quit your job and travel. Now, obviously you need some savings or income that is remotely. And in this video, I will explain a few very, very easy and simple ways you can either save money, like live very cheaply as you're traveling, or earn money as you're traveling. Or you can do a combination of the two, where you earn money as you're traveling and you live in a cheap way. So typically what happens in your home country is you will have really high bills. So you have like really high expensive bills and rent, and that will kind of lock you into staying in that country. You can't move because then you lose the job. But if you keep the job, you have to stay in the country and keep paying the bills. It's kind of like this paradox. If you just have even a little bit of savings, right, even just a few $1,000s, right, even 2,000, that is enough to go to somewhere like Thailand, live for $200 a month. So straight away you have a lot of time to work this out. And in the first month or two, you start making an income online, and it can literally be that quick, especially if you only need $300 a month. I mean, that's nothing. You can make that online very easily, and I'll explain how. And you're kind of fine. Like, obviously, the more savings you have to start with, the better, because it's more of like this safety net. But I will get onto this now. So before I get onto specifically showing you how, I just want to show you a bit more about what. And for this, I'm just going to move I'll leave this here for now, actually. So this is I could show you lots of different stuff. This is my Instagram. As you can see here, I travel a lot. So this is monkeys in Gibraltar. This was Italy. This was Jordan, Slovenia, Jordan. Slovenia is my favorite place, actually, Lake Bled. I don't know if you've been there or not, but it's a really beautiful lake. And yeah, doing a skydive, Petra. There's a lot of Jordan because that's where I went recently. Yeah, so as you can see, this was Cambodia. This was Prague, Stonehenge, England. This was actually China, the Great Wall of China. This is Bulgaria. This was Gran Canaria, Spain, Vietnam, Hungary, Great Wall of China, Czech Republic. Anyway, I could go on, but you get the idea, right? I travel a lot, and basically this whole time that I've had this account, pretty much within reason, some exceptions, most of that time I was actually working for myself. And so, I'm not some genius. I'm just a guy, okay? So if I can figure out how to do this, you definitely can. And I will show you how. Well, I'll show you how I got started, and I'll show you how you can get started if you want to fast track all that. So I got started the hard way. I basically learned from scratch everything. So I taught myself, how to make products, how to sell ebooks, how to create a sales page, how to write something, how to make a website, all of this stuff, coding, all of that, right? I had to teach myself from scratch. And that is the way I chose, for some reason, to make an income online. It took me a couple of years, I think, before I was really making any significant money from doing this. Yeah, let's go away. Yeah. And yeah, so there is actually an easier way, which I didn't realize until much later on. and that is through a site called Upwork. Now, there are other sites like this, by the way. But basically what this is, Upwork, is a way where you can work for somebody else remotely. So a company will post a job advert, you will apply, they'll hire you, and then you're not really working for the company as such, as an employee. You're really just working for them as like a contractor or a freelancer. So what this means is that at any point you can decide to leave, not really have any penalties. You can decide how much you want to get paid per hour. You can decide which hours you work, what work you do, where you work from. You have a large amount of freedom of choice compared to a traditional job. It's very, very good. And this is actually, I would say, if I could go back in time, I probably would have done something like this. I would have been a freelancer. Using my skills, I was very fast at typing and writing, good at making videos. I had from my previous job, I was quite good at AdWords and advertising, AdWords, that kind of thing. So yeah, I could have just used my skills back then, worked an hour a day at most, and been pulling at least $1,000 or $2,000 a month in income remotely. Back then, with next to no skills. It's actually quite a big opportunity for you if you want to travel remotely, quit your job, travel. The chances are, if you're doing something on a computer, especially in an office, you can probably do it on here remotely for yourself. And it's very easy to use, free to sign up, no cost to join. I'll put a link in the description to this stuff, by the way, but yeah, it's all there. As you start to, I'm not going to teach you how to use it because that's an entirely different conversation, but it's very straightforward. As you start to do that, you should probably look at some tips. And for that, I have a recommendation, a subreddit called Digital Nomad. As the name suggests, it's all about digital nomads. And you can find here all kinds of advice, resources, tips. It's all there. I'd recommend you check that out. The next thing is, if you want to actually travel cheaply, you want to be looking at something like sponsorships, volunteer work, or hostels. This is something that I also didn't realize until much later on. So basically, as I was building up my income, I didn't realize that there were these things. So I did it the hard way, right? For some reason, I built up this income, and I basically waited until the point where I could afford to pay for Airbnbs for a whole month, which is obviously very expensive depending on where you are. In Thailand, it's very cheap, but in some countries, especially in Europe, it's not cheap. It's $1,500, $2,000 a month. It varies massively between different places, but there is an easier way, which I didn't realize until after I could already afford the expensive way, and that is through volunteer work, sponsorships, things like that. So there are websites, and I'll try and remember to link to some in the description, which will give you free accommodation in really nice places in exchange for a little bit of work. So it might be something like you have to, and again, it depends on your skills. It might be like record one video a day, share a restaurant to your Instagram story, write an article for us, write a review for us, whatever. But these hotels and resorts and places will give you free accommodation in exchange for you just doing some of that stuff. And it doesn't even take you that long. I could have done this years ago and been living in free accommodation in beautiful places as a nomad without working for somebody else very easily. Okay, it's not hard. It really is not hard. I personally prefer to travel and stay in places alone or with my partner now, but if I ever needed to, this is what I would do. Okay, so you have here Hostel World. This is, you will obviously have to pay for this. This is hostels. Hostel is like shared accommodation where you will be sleeping in a room, usually with other people, in kind of like bunk bed style sleeping arrangement. I'm not a fan of this, but if you need to save money, it's incredibly cheap. You can get places in Vietnam, you can get places for $1 a night. Literally $1 a night, with some of them with breakfast. So this idea of like, I can't afford to travel, it's not really true. I think what you mean is you can't afford to travel perpetually in specific places, staying in luxury accommodation, because that's a different thing. But if you just want to travel, you can do it. Like, you can do it for free even. if you really arrange it and put the time and work in, you can do it for free. Just a string of different volunteer stuff, and then you whatever. Very minimal cost. Okay. So let me just look at my notes here. So basically, there's multiple ways of doing this, obviously. I want to just tell you a bit more very quickly about the Freedom Tribe, because what this is, and you can find this in the description, or you can go to astralhq.com/Freedom Tribe. Basically, I have put together membership, which teaches you a system for enhancing your body and mind and creating a purpose-led online business. So I teach you exactly how to do what I did. I learned it the hard way. You can learn it in a matter of weeks, maybe a couple of months. You'll be up and running, making income, passive income. There's multiple benefits of doing this over working for somebody else, because with this, it's passive. You do what you actually love. So you create content, you share and do the things you already enjoy doing, whether it's travel vlogs, editing photos, whatever it is. You can do it, basically. And on this page, I explain how it all works. If you watch this quick video here, it explains how it works. And that's it. That's how you can do it. You can quit your job and travel literally now. You need very, very little savings or skills to get started. Yeah, I would recommend you do it. All right, so let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.